The Chinese economy is in a lot of trouble. Their largest company seems to be defaulting on itself, and Chinese infrastructure around the world and at home is literally crumbling apart. If you're a real estate investor in the Asian region, well, then you may have heard of one company, Country Garden. But right now, you might have heard of them for a very different reason. This is because they've become another Chinese company to utterly take down the entire Chinese economy with it when it fails. You may have heard of the Evergrande situation last year, in which there was a big housing shortage because houses just weren't getting completed. And now, Country Garden and many other Chinese companies are causing the same problems in other countries. I love how once Xi Jinping said houses are for living in, not investing, but now this is happening, which just proves him entirely wrong. One thing that Country Garden is known for working on is a giant development called Forest City, which actually looks pretty cool. It's at the southern tip of Malaysia, which is an area that's currently bouncing off Singapore's successful economy by basically just taking advantage of the fact that it's so close to Singapore. The entire project was supposed to cost $100 billion. This wasn't part of the Belt and Road Initiative, or as some would call it, Bait and Rob Initiative, but it looks very similar to how all of those are going. But now, Country Garden only has spent $4 billion to develop the property, and many in the area fear that they're gonna have to use taxpayer dollars to finish it, which basically means that China is bringing down Malaysia's economy along with its own. And unfortunately, this isn't just one of the ways that Chinese companies are causing big headaches for other countries right now. Take Australia, for example. They're currently experiencing a major housing shortage. Why is that? Well, it's because companies, mainly Chinese companies, and their Australian subsidiaries, are buying properties in Australia and then just not developing them. So they're getting bought, but nothing's going on. So you have all this land, which, to be fair, Australia has a lot of land to develop, but only a little bit of inhabitable land to develop. So, yeah, there is not a lot of space to put more houses, and with the fact that these companies aren't willing to sell their properties, it means that the Australian housing market is going to have a really tough time. I mean, communism is an ideology based off getting rid of money, so who thought doing business with a communist country would be a good idea? People who have no brains. Corporate executives. Now on to the next part. Chinese infrastructure is quite literally collapsing under everyone's feet. Now, if this is what I call a communist utopia, take me to City 17. I'm sure this has nothing to do with the fact that bricks made in China can literally be snapped in half by your own two hands, or the fact that you can literally bend wire like it's those types of wires that are used to secure toys into their box or something. Here's some other examples. Here's an airport roof collapsing on a ton of cars, and here's a building that collapsed Twin Towers style after all the bricks literally fell apart. And here's workers using beer cans instead of concrete to build walls. This just shows that Chinese infrastructure is not the best, and what's worse, they're building it all over the world for their Belt and Road Initiative. But of course, government buildings are completely fine. For example, in 2008, there was a massive earthquake in Sichuan, but while all of the government buildings were left standing, a school completely collapsed, and since it was a school day, this killed many kids, all because of shoddy design and a desire to make things cheaper. So if you want to help decrease your country's reliance on China, go to this website called No to China, which basically is all the best products not made in China, so you can get what you love, but without supporting all of this. And with that, thanks for watching this video, hope you learned something, remember to check out No to China, and Zoigin.